All right, Shalom. I'll give underground praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahshua by Shem Kakadash. The bonus to the elders, Apostle Grant Milestone, just ministers in sincerity. Citations hopeful that spread to the focus centers. This is going to be another lesson titled A Response to Be Careful of the Klan County. All right, be careful of the Klan County. And it's my first warning as a young black officer of the South, right? And it's, this Israelite who was in the military share his experience or his account of, a senior NCOs that was black telling him, to drive the speed limit while going to this particular town that's home of the Ku Klux Klan, which is Pulaski, Tennessee. Okay. And it's basically this, and when you further watch that video, he basically goes into how, it had an eye-opening experience for him, because he now knows that, yes, he says that racism, exists like on a small level, but it's still, it still exists, on a larger, larger scale, basically, where, you have organization like the Ku Klux Klan that has been formed just for a hatred against African Americans. Okay. It's a terrorist organization against the African Americans, against the Israelites, basically. Okay. And it just goes back into, the scriptures. Everything's in the Bible. Okay. Everything is in the Bible. That we know that the KKK is a white supremacist hate group. Violence, right? It's a violent hate group. Okay. And the racial hatred towards, is mainly you Negroes. Okay. And then basically all the tribes, if you really want to go for that, all of the tribes, right? Because this is a white supremacy group, right? It's just only for you Edomites. Okay. It's a group that only for you Edomites. Okay. For this, I'll go ahead. Ecclesiasticus 12, chapter, verse 10 reads, "Never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rustleth, so is his weakness." Okay, just like how iron can rust over the time, so can the devil wickedness show over time. Okay, so we can never trust our enemy. Right, our enemies is the heathen, those that put us in captivity, the Edomites. Okay. It's cool to, be around them, right? You can be around them, but you just can't trust them. You can't let them, have an upper hand on you, okay? At any point. You can't trust them with your with your possessions, okay? Whether you can trust them, around your food, if you want to put it like that. Okay. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and be aware of him. And that shall be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou should know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Okay, so this devil Edomite, okay, which is known as the red man in the Bible, right? He'll humble himself, okay. He won't make his wickedness known, okay, at you, right, straight away, okay, like they did back then, okay. Whether it was the brown paper bag test or Jim Crow laws, etc. Okay. So he'll humble himself. He'll be friend with you, probably be cool with you. Okay. give you a raise, okay, or give you a promotion, okay. That's him humbling himself, and that's him crouching, right? But you as a enemy, as a you know, as a sheep, okay, as a prey, okay, you have to take good heed and beware of him, right? You have tactics you can use yourself to protect yourself, to not be overcome by your enemy, right? By taking good heed and being aware, okay, you know, and not just trusting this devil, okay, because he gave you a promotion, because he gave you a raise, okay, or because he's your friend, or because you really like him, okay. No, and you have to judge the spirit as well. Not every so-called white people are Edomites, all right? You know, but those that are, you know, you judge, you look at that spirit, and you can see that they're racist, or they have race, they have these certain viewpoints, okay. Then yeah, that way you have to take good heed, beware, okay. And that should be unto him as if thou hast wiped a lick like you. And as you continue to read, you know, his rust has not been together altogether wiped away. Meaning what, his rust is still there. His wickedness has not been wiped away. Okay. Though they push the laws, okay, you know, in a Jim Crow days, right? The end of discrimination, okay, you know, all the different things that was used to so quote unquote, in racism, okay, in the atrocity, hatred against, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, etc., Native Americans. You found out that you can't even speed in a certain part of town. You find out about these sundown towns where you can't, where if you're black, so-called black, you can't be in that town at sundown, right? Or you are, you know, subjected to being harassed, or even put to death. Okay, you know, and this is not your mainstream media. You don't see Trump, okay, Nero 47, pushing laws against combating these white supremacy, okay, or you know, taking down these sundown towns, okay. You don't see that happening, right? But you have Nero pushing laws, okay, to go into these um, major left um, democratic city, if you'll call it that, that is headed by you Israelites, okay, into these town in the neighborhood that's mainly occupied by Jake, you Israelites, and see his guard, his army there, okay. But he's not going to these sundown towns where it is home of the majority of the so-called white people, right? Edomites, you know. All right, because it shows that even Nero 47, he doesn't. He have a hatred against you. It's like he have a hatred against the tribes. Okay, so his rust has not altogether been walked away. Okay, his wickedness is still, you know, it's still showing. Okay, that set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he set up in thy place. Okay, this is going back to what? Don't be friend with him. Okay, you know, if you're a boss, okay, whoever you are, okay, and you have Edomite, that's you think you cool with, okay, don't be too cool with them, right? Because they're gonna look to overthrow you, okay. They're gonna try to maybe put some sort of whatever, do something, throw some sort of complaint or something, just to you know be in your position, okay, overthrow your position. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. All right, just like what I mentioned. All right, and thou at the last remember my words and be prick where there was right. Jake, because we know Jake. They don't like to take heed unless they only like to take heed of these words when they've been pricked. Okay, when this devil actually, when their enemy actually did what they ended supposed to do, which overthrow them. Okay, that's when they like to take heed. Okay, so we can't. This is why we have to take the heed now. Okay, because the time to come at you, right? Their wickedness is gonna be shown. All right, their wickedness already been shown on a, you know, on a scale, right? You have many lynches happening. All right, wonder why. Okay, this is 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking who he may devour. And this be refers to the spiritual demon Satan, right? But this also referring to as those that come into in the physical appearance of the spiritual demon Satan, right? The devils, right? The Edomites, okay? The heathens, right? Because they walk his, meaning what they're seeking whom they may devour through, you know, they're in their positions, right? The position that they're in, okay? Or there may be a cop or a governor, a mayor, okay, a whatever position that may be, they're seeking to devour the Israelites, okay? So this is why you have to be vigilant, be sober, okay? And this is what that Jake, the NCO Jake was telling was telling him, right, to be basically be sober, okay, be vigilant, right, don't speed, okay, when you enter that town, okay, or else that devil is going to devour you, okay, the devil is going to devour the meaning what he might lynch him, okay, do whatever he won't, okay. I'm gonna start here with Psalms 36 and 1. The transgression of the wicked says was in my heart, that there is no fear of the Most High before his eyes. Okay. They don't fear the Most High. Okay. They don't fear their creator. Okay. They don't even know the creator. Or it's just they believe that the creation happened through a Big Bang theory. Okay. We know that the Most High, he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's the God of you Israelites. Okay. The heathens were created to serve the Israelites. Okay. So the heathen don't have a power. Okay. Their power is the Israelites. Okay. Because in kingdom of heaven, we're gonna be their gods. Okay. We're gonna be their power. All right. For he flattered himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful. This just goes back to how he think that whole KKK organization. He think that's okay. He think there's no wrong with me having KKK, a white supremacist organization, right? But they don't see how wicked it is, right? But the only one that's not blind by this, by the wickedness are mainly the elect, okay? You know, because you have some Jakes that they'll probably be friends with one of these KKK people, right? These people or they might even joke with, okay? Because we know that the scriptures y'all talks about how Jake is they're like the father of the devil, right? And the thus of the father they'll do. Okay, so you have it's like that will probably even join KKK, right? But the only people, okay, or the group of the Israelites that is not, won't be overtaken by this KKK is the elect, right? Because we know that it's a hateful organization, okay? The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. He has left out to be wise and to do good. Right. The devil, he don't know how to do good. He don't know how to be righteous. Okay. This organization KKK is not a wise organization, right? Because we know that this serpent, he was slick. Okay. He didn't want to show, okay, really that he was a serpent, right? KKK is showing that they're a serpent, so they left off being wise. Okay. And you have many of our people who still think that the white people are for them. Okay, they want to help them. Okay, that's a complete lie. When I refer to maybe about that your presidents, okay, Trump, right, and these different senators, right, in the higher upper echelon. But the words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit, and that goes back to what those executive orders, right? They're nothing but wickedness and deceit and lies, okay, and trickery. He devised mischief upon his bed. He sitteth on himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. All right. So he devised mischief upon his bed. His bed is referring to his chamber, right? His the capital, right? Okay. The Jekyll Island, right? You know, where these devil, do their wickedness at, right? Devises their wickedness. Okay. He abhors not evil, right? He hate not evil. He loves to do evil. All right. So I'm gonna close this here by giving all the praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem Hakodash. Till next time, I'll say Shalom.